Book 1, Bazur's Plot, Chapter 14 and 15. Chapter 14. Is Jack going to be on board or not? We made our way to Jack's place and found him in the kitchen finishing up his evening tea. I spoke when approaching him. Sorry to barge in like that. We need your help. I came with Tora. I realized that Jack was looking stunned and stared at Tora, who came in behind me when Jack was staring him at his jaw open. Oh, I better explain, he said. So, this may sound a bit insane. Yes, this is the same Tora that was my dog. And yes, he died 7 years ago. I was trying to think quickly how to explain this without sounding too crazy. You know how you sometimes say that you feel like there must be other worlds parallel to us, to ours? That is just, and that it would just make sense if those other worlds would exist. Jack raised his eyes to meet mine and closed his jaw slowly and nodded. I continued, well, that's true. I'm coming from one called Myria now with Tora. And that is actually where we need your help. Tora is able to guide us back there, and we need your help there. I took another breath and continued. I know you're always up for adventure. I need your help now. Please come with us to Myria. I chose not to explain too much. I was thinking that it would be more natural to explain on the way there or in the Myria about wizards and seafarer, fairies, elves, and the white goddess. Jack still had not said any word, but was just staring at me. I know this is a lot to take in. I will explain a lot more, and of course about why we need your help. But now we just need to know you're willing to help and you're coming with us to Myria. Jack seemed to find his voice right now and said, well, you know I have never shied away from adventure. I will come. He reached his big hands toward Tora and said to him, come here, boy. And Tora ran into his lap. They had such a sweet moment meeting each other again after so many years. One thing I said, and looked at Jack. Tora is a lovely light creature in Myria, so you can have a talk later when we have time with him. Jack raised his eyebrows and said, really? That's going to be so fun. I looked at both of them and said, Jack, we need to go right away back. We will walk to the nearby woods, but then Tora will take us over and transport us to Myria. Jack looked confused, and I continued, you need to just trust Tora. When you trust, he's able to take us both to the other world and to the other dimension. All we need to do is trust. You trust him, right? I looked straight into his eyes. Jack laughed, which seemed to melt all earlier confusions away as well, and said, for sure, I trust my boy. I smiled. Great. Let's get going. Lock your door and follow me. I signed Tora to take a lead to take us back to the boat and portal. And so we walked. Tora first, me next, and I could hear Jack's heavier steps behind me. Jack was a big man, a little bit older than I am. Actually, I don't even know how old he is. It has never mattered. I walked taking long strides. He walked taking long strides while I'm shorter, and I had to walk more steps at the same distance. It was already getting dark, so dark that I almost needed a flashlight to see where I'm stepping. Thankfully, the moon appeared and we could walk to our boat in the woods somewhat easily. Tora stopped at the boat and looked at me. I could hear him communicating to me in my head that we need to turn the boat around and get it. And better if we close our eyes and focus on trusting. And I better warn Jack that we will end up at sea, so he knows what is coming and does not stop trusting. I turned to Jack and explained to him what Dora told me to say. Help me turn this boat around. Then we will sit on it and Dora will take care of moving. The most important thing is that you have full trust. And with that, we turned the small boat around and jumped in. At the boat. I sat at the boat, Jack in the middle, and Dora took the stern with the engine. I looked a little funny since it looked a little bit funny since Dora, has no fingers here on Earth, but paws. But he looked okay. I turned to Jack. Better to close your eyes now and just repeat yourself that you trust. If you sway in your trust, we cannot cross over. That is what I have understood. Your most important thing to do is to keep yourself in a trusting state of mind. Oh, and remember, we end up at the sea, so do not freak out when you hear water or smell sea. Dora is brilliant at navigating, so you just focus on your task in hand now. I saw Jack nodding. I turned around facing in front again, and I put my hands over my eyes and started to repeat quietly, I trust Dora. I heard Dora turn on the engine, and it did sound like it was suffering for a while since there was no water. The boat jerked forward, and I focused quickly on my trust exercise. The cold feeling was there again, and I heard Jack breathe in quickly, but I heard him also focus on repeating trust in a quiet voice. As fast the cold came, it was gone. And I heard it splashing against the boat, and I smiled. Apparently, Jack also managed to trust Dora. Chapter 15. Back in Myria. I lowered my hands from my eyes and I steadied myself sitting better since the boat was swirling from side to side like riding waves. It was not scary. It felt more like being a roller coaster, really. I saw the sunlight in front of us and the sea opened wide in front of us. We were apparently coming out of that cave now. The small boat rode the waves that were formed by sea hitting the cave door and surrounding rock. I felt the sea salt in my mouth and a lovely wind in my hair. I turned to see Jack and grinned. Are you all right? Jack looked happy and enthusiastic, and he also held the sides of the boat to steady himself. And he was grinning ear to ear. Awesome, he yelled back. Dora navigated us out of the cave a slightly smoother sailing area and turned the boat toward the seafarer's shack. We are going to Seafarer's shack where we can explain you more. He's a big man that looks like a Viking. He's actually white wizard, and that is why we are going there. He's going to help us undo magic a black wizard called Bazur has done, and return alive many Myria's creatures. You and me, we are in the main role since we are humans and Bazur's curses are human magic. I have understood that the other creatures could do it too, the magic, but the other human features and abilities are also needed to undo the magic. Therefore, we are here. But more about it in a while when we arrive to the shack. I saw Jack nod. His smile did not change. He looked like a kid in a candy store, just enjoying every moment. I looked around us again, and we were almost flying forward in the small boat. The sea was so blue and bright. The sun was shining in a lovely way. Oh, I realized So the time is really different here than on Earth. It was still daytime in here, and it was morning when we met Seafarer, and it was night on Earth when we got Jack just now. Well, it really didn't matter, I thought to myself. Just another different thing. We could see in the front of Seafarer's Piers and Jack. It looked already familiar to me. Not at all scary anymore. Good. Now I need to be very sharp to learn everything that Seafarer was going to teach me. Well, and Jack. That reminded, hey, that reminded me of that gift that I already got. Which one was it? Yes, it was the pouch of the halfling elder that gave me those leaves. I was to suck or chew one of them to clear my mind for learning. I made a mental note to remember when Seafarer started to teach, I would take one to remember. I wonder if I needed to give Jack one too. He was going to be part of the adventure now. We arrived at the pier and I jumped out of the boat and tied it to the pier. I helped Jack out and he looked around and froze. I looked at what he was looking so intensively and started to laugh out loud. Yes, that is Tora here in Myria. I forgot that Jack had not seen Tora's changed appearance. Tora smiled and said, "Hello, Jack. Yes, this is me here in Myria. Lovely that you decided to join us to help free Myria from the wizard Bazur's attempt to overthrow White Goddess." Jack said very quietly in hoarse voice, "You are so beautiful, like a divine light shining, so beautiful." Tora bowed his head slightly and jumped up to the pier. I turned and started walking to the shack, pulling Jack behind me. I thought he is going to have more wonders ahead, so let's just go forward now to meet the rest of the team. The shack was full of smells and fumes of all kinds. There were some pots and pans boiling at the fireplace and a stove. Seafarer said with a thundering voice, "Good, you arrived. We are almost finished with the lunch cooking, and then we can continue planning together." "I see, so this is Jack." He held his big hand to Jack, who shook it. Looked, I looked up from one another and realized that, yes, sure, the hair was a little different, clothes were different, but they really looked like they would be related. They were both big, strong men and quite tall as well. Well, Jack was clearly younger and skinnier than Seafarer, but there were a lot of similarities. It seemed that neither of them noticed the similarities, so I did not say anything. I did glance Dora and Tara, and they had clearly noticed it too. Dora spoke. "The trip went fine. Thank you for good directions, Seafarer." He started to laugh out loud. "No problem. Good that the portal is still there. You know, that is how I came through. But I have not used it since the year I arrived here for the last time. I do not want to go back on Earth anymore. I like that portal, though. It takes you wherever you need to go." I said, "Hey, Jack, here's one more friend I want you to meet." Jack was looking around in the shack and seemed confused. I smiled and pointed out the black area. "Her name is Tara. She's Tora's twin. Where Tora is light, Tara is night." Tara moved so it was much easier to make a shape of her uh, when she was moving a little bit and not staying still. Jack's eyes widened and he stammered, "Good to meet you. Wow, you look awesome. I did not see you one bit. I bet that comes very handy sometimes to be that invisible." Tara nodded and smiled. "Let's eat," Seafarer said. I looked at the table and thought Tara had used her magic, since the table at the table there were big plates and cups for Seafarer and Jack, and smaller ones for us three. Me, Tora, and Tara. I realized I was starving, and I sat at the table looking around what to eat. Seafarer laughed so that the whole shack was shaking slightly against the sea waves, and set food from a huge pot to each plate, for each member's plate. It looked like some kind of fish soup or something. The smell was awesome. I jumped right in and started to eat. Others followed my lead, and for a moment there was nothing but clicking noises of the spoons. Everyone else also thought the soup was good, judging by the speed of its disappearance on everyone's plate. Once everyone had finished their soups, Tara brought coffee and delicious-looking strawberry cake to the table and said, "I think it's time to bring Jack up to date about the mission," and looked at me. I turned to Jack and said, smiling, "Yes, I think it's fair."